Hey everybody, Grant Miller here, Miami Community Newspapers. Today we're going to talk about voting, how important it is. I'm with Nadir Perez.
Just like that. Thank you so much, Grant. I appreciate being here.
Okay, so before we get to talk about politics, about how important it is to vote, we were talking before the show. You and your parents came over from Cuba.
Correct.
At what year? And how old were you?
Okay, so my parents...
A little louder. Act like...
Yeah, no worries.
Like
I get you.
Bring your mic up.
Right. No worries. So my parents...
You say you're a football player. You sound like you're
it depends
like a wide
on the
receiver.
Settings. No, for sure. So my parents won this thing called a Loto Visa. In Cuba, the only way between the 90s and the early 2000s where Cubans could essentially immigrate is if through a lottery system. My mom actually was one of the 2000 in 2001, which is the year I came, that was lucky enough, fortunate enough to win that Loto Visa. Sure enough, after that, my life changed, and me and my family migrated. At the time, it was me, my father, myself. Now it's me, my father, my mom, my brother that was born here, my two grandmas that we brought over.
But they didn't win the lotto.
At all.
How did they come over?
They came over, so when you become an American citizen, you can do this thing. I don't know how to say. It's like reclaiming somebody.
You say it in Spanish.
Reclamar. And that is when you basically say, this is my mother. I am a citizen here. She's going to come now live with me. I'm not too familiar with the nuances of that.
Okay, but it's all good. All right, so this one reason that you just love this country is you were lucky enough to win the lotto. You didn't have to.
100%.
You lived in that world of that we don't understand. Americans don't understand. Only people that live there. I didn't grow up in your shoes. I didn't grow up in your parents' shoes. And this is part of the problem we have in all the cultures is I don't know how it felt to live in a communist country.
Right.
My great-grandfather, lived in a communist country, so I didn't really have the feel for it. You have, and that's why you believe in voting so important. But let's get to you. So you grew up. What elementary school you went to?
I went to Southside Elementary.
Which one?
Southside Elementary. It's right off in Brickell. That school that seems to start where all the buildings start. But interestingly enough, because I immigrated with my parents, and one of the things in America that happens is if you're a professional in your home country, your licenses don't apply when you move to the United States. So it's very difficult for, say, a mother of one or even two at 30 years old who needs to pay rent and all these other things like living expenses to go back to a traditional school. So just for immigrants to come to a new country and get all of their professional licenses back has been very difficult for them.
Okay, so you went to what middle school did you go to?
I went to a bunch. That's my point, that I moved around so much in the United States.
Which one?
I went to Kinloch. I went to Shenandoah. I went to I lived in St. Petersburg for a little bit because my parents moved around with jobs.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
Coral Gables Senior High School, baby, go Cavs!
Now, you played football how many years ago?
I played football. I graduated 2015.
Did you play Little League football or just high school?
No, just high school football.
You were too big.
Yeah, no. It's just my mom didn't like that stuff. Football, American football isn't.
So, your coach was?
Roger Pollard. I was his first baby, his first generation. Coach Pollard becomes head football coach, I believe, in 2012 or 13, possibly 12. I think. And I was a ninth grader at that time. I was playing basketball at the moment, and he approaches me and says, "No, man, you got to play football. No, man, you're not a basketball player."
Was he right?
I can't shoot. I can't shoot a free throw.
So he was right.
Yeah, and after that, I went to the spring. I sucked. I was horrible. I had no coordination. And sure enough, through his coaching, his training, and I saw the podcast, the video you did with him, and one of the things that he says is super true is the whole using sports to develop leadership. That environment of adversity, right? When players buy into it, and I'll tell you right now, I didn't buy into it. I quit my senior year because of some petty girlfriend drama BS that high schoolers worry about. Now, 5 years later, I'm like, it was stupid. I hurt my team. I literally.
That was your posse right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you went on to FIU. You got a degree in
political science and a minor in business. To be frank, the political science degree, I could have just done something else and it would have been probably more useful. But that is like my passion, like you said, getting out the vote, talking to voters, and making sure that they understand what happens, because there's a lot of misinformation in politics.
All right. Well, all around.
Yeah, for sure.
Both sides. You watch these ads and you go, really?
Correct.
And they're lies.
Well, you have to understand where these ads come from, right? Like, there are a bunch of different ways in which communication happens in politics. You can do it individually, like me as a person, you as a person. You just create a campaign. You can do communications through PACs, political action committees, who are groups of people, right, that have different ideas, and that's how they can communicate. And then you have other interest groups, organizations, nonprofits. So there's a bunch of representation.
I'm not going to go into depth, but I just saw a video on Marie Salazar. She says she came here with $5 in her pocket.
Right.
She was born in the United States.
Okay.
According to my records.
Right.
And then Carlos Jimenez gets blasted saying his son was part of the killing of the FIU bridge.
Yeah.
He didn't work for that company, and that company wasn't at fault. And then you got another people. I can go across the board. The Democrats attacking the Republicans.
Especially at a time like this, you realize we're 30 days away from changing the entire political landscape.
That's correct. So, okay. The reason I got you on here, I want you to tell your people, whoever your people are, and our people, and my brother's people, and Tommy's people, why you're. How old are you?
I'm 23 now.
23. Why it's so important for you to vote, your parents to vote, and why the United States, why they should vote. Tell your people.
Well, it's really simple. If you don't vote, your voice isn't heard. There's a lot of people, especially my age, and I'll speak for Generation Z for a moment. And the fact
Generation what?
Generation Z. I'm not really a millennial. Technically, being a millennial stops in 1996. I was born in 1997, so I'm at the first cusp of Generation Z.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't even know what these words are.
Right. So
Tommy,
Gen
you know what
Z
they are?
Whatever. It's.
But I think the Z is probably worse than the millennials.
Okay.
so just getting it right. We love using social media. We actually, I believe, are the most philanthropic generation. The problem with us is that we don't put our actions into tangible efforts. We don't put our voices into places where they're going to be heard. What we do is we complain. What we do is we feel bad for ourselves. So what I would tell people my age is that just by you sending your absentee ballot, just by you even taking 5 minutes of your day to learn about what the candidates on that sheet have to offer to you, that's going to be the most that you could do, honestly, because the least is not going to vote, not having your voice count. Just so you understand, there are right now, so the electorate, right, the total amount of people that can actually go out and vote in Miami-Dade is anywhere right now, again, I don't have it like readily, but it's over 1 million, right, in this entire Miami-Dade. Do you want to know what is the predicted outcome of this election?
Yes.
And a presidential election, like how many people would come on and vote at the end of the day between absentee ballots, people going to vote early, and day of election? What's the total number at the end of the day? What would you think?
It's going to be 1 million. What do you think?
It's going to be half of that. And no, not even half of that. It's going to be 20, like a quarter million people across everything.
I'm going to tell you one reason it's so important to vote. Miguel Del Grande, before your time, I don't even know if you were born then, he lost by 1 vote. State House. One of his family members didn't vote.
That could have been it.
The governor's race, those were recalled. Remember, they not recalled, they checked the ballots.
Right.
Gillum lost by 5 votes per he lost by what? Does anybody know?
That's in 2018.
Can you find out?
You're referring to the gubernatorial between DeSantis and Gillum?
Right.
Okay.
Tell me the difference. I think it was 5 votes per county he lost by.
Yeah, something
5 votes.
Super like minimalistic. And
Al Gore would be president. There's a new show coming out. I think it's called Billy Corbin's coming out with a new show, an HBO special talking about how Al Gore lost by 300 and some odd votes.
Yeah, and the craziest...
That was it.
Yeah.
Al Gore lost by 5 votes per county, or he would have been the president of the United States. So every vote counts. So that's so important. And you're talking about, are you the Z's or the millennials?
Okay, I'm the Z's. People that, how would I say, they're in their 30s now are millennials. So understand, after 1996, that's like the cutoff date.
Do you think that the Democratic Party supporters of Bernie Sanders voters, who are mostly Z's and whatever you want to call them, are they not going to be coming out to vote?
Well, you have to understand, people that are younger, by nature, are more democratic by the way how our system works, right? As you get older, you'll see that people my age slowly but surely start shifting to the right as they pay more, they have more tax, like they do more things, right? So people my age, our problem is that we believe in a lot of these ideals, but we don't act on them. We just talk about them, and it stays in conversation. What I've seen in Miami-Dade is that at least the Democratic Party organizes extremely well and has a good outreach to the youth. The Republicans, on the other hand, are very good at organizing their funds, managing their money. And that's why they you could say and argue that they run more effective campaigns, right? Now, maybe their messaging doesn't hit as hard because they have, like I said, an older demographic that they perform better in. Because if you see the performance of young people with Republicans, it's not the same with Democrats. People my age are overwhelmingly on the Democratic Party.
Are you totally bilingual?
Yeah, completamente, claro que sí.
Any other language? French?
I studied Chinese in college and
Ni
all
hao
that.
ma.
Ni hao ma, wo jiao nada.
Oh, you like that, huh? Bonjour. Okay, so, all right, we're going to wrap it up. I want you to look at this camera and tell everybody how to vote, not political parties,
No,
absentees, early. When's your early voting starting?
Early voting, I believe, starts next week, but the absentee ballots have already dropped. So if you are registered to vote and haven't received an absentee ballot, I believe the deadline has already passed. So what you can go ahead and do is check out the closest precinct to you and where you live, and you can go to early voting. It should be from 7 to 7 p.m., 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but again, Election Day is November 3rd. If you have no clue what you're voting on, ask a friend. Or check out one of our pages so you can learn more about what's going on in the political environment and in your local community.
All right. Say goodbye to everybody.
Hey, bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Have a great day.